Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning. Thank you for joining us today in celebration of International Women's Day. My name is Leah McMillan. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Trend Micro, and I will be your host for today's discussion. I'm also a daughter, a wife, a sister, and most importantly, a mom to two amazing young men, 20-year-old identical twin boys who are now in university and beginning their own tech journeys. Today, we will celebrate International Women's Day by hearing from some dynamic and accomplished women at Trend Micro. A reminder, we're live streaming on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So whatever platform you're using, please remember you can enter your comments and questions at any time, and we'll do our best to answer those on the live stream today. Today, we imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes, and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. I'm so grateful for all the strong, inspiring, and visionary women who have fought and sacrificed to change the world. You are all truly amazing. It's difficult to celebrate today without thinking about the women of Ukraine who are being forced to navigate their way through war and chaos and unimaginable fear and loss. We are so hopeful that peace will soon be returned so that your lives may begin to heal. Before we meet our guest today, allow me to give you a quick sense about my own journey as a woman in tech. Over 30 years ago, my first job out of business school was at a fast-paced consumer graphics software company called Corel. It was so much fun and really a great first taste of tech. And, to make a very long story short, the first half of my career was in product management, so closer to R&D. The second half has been on the marketing side of the house. And of course, in my 30 plus years in tech, it's been across industries, but I have spent 18 years of those in the exciting realm of cybersecurity. And, my journey wasn't without its challenges and biases that I've had to overcome, but throughout it all, I've worked hard. I've raised my beautiful boys. I've maintained amazing friendships. I've stayed healthy, and I've had the good fortune to work for global companies and travel the world. It's funny to think back on those early years. When I started in tech, the internet was at its infancy. We shipped software on 5.25-inch diskettes. We had no website. There was no way to email people outside the organization. And it was really early days for women in tech. It's been exciting to see such incredible innovation over the years and amazing to see opportunities for women everywhere. Setting out those many years ago, I don't know if I could have imagined becoming a senior executive at a multi-billion-dollar cybersecurity company, one that is run by a female CEO, Eva Chen, one of the original founders, an incredible role model for all of the women at Trend Micro. Now, I'm excited to welcome several women of Trend Micro to our live stream today to share their stories and insights. Let me welcome Tina Honore Magaski from Trend Micro US, Monica Niemann, also from Trend Micro US, Sylvia Bertrand from Trend Micro Mexico, and Lydia Vasconcelos from Trend Micro Canada. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah.
Hi. So great to have you here today. I'm very excited to dive into some exciting questions with you. Maybe before we get started, maybe we could just hear a little bit about what role you have at Trend Micro today and just a little bit about who you are. Tina, why don't we start with you?
All right, sounds great. I am Tina Honore Magaski. I am currently the manager of the customer experience team at Trend Micro. I am a mother of 3 beautiful daughters, born and raised in Louisiana, and graduated from school and ended up here in Texas where I now work. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you, Tina. Monica, how about you?
Hi, I'm Monica Niemann. I'm the director for U.S. Regional Marketing. So I'm supporting our in-field marketers that are supporting our enterprise sellers. I am a wife and a mom. I have 4 kids, and they're all grown now, so they're like over 20, and I can't even fathom that. I'm a grandmother as well, which is 3.5-year-old beautiful granddaughter. I'm an avid reader, and I was born and raised in the Silicon Valley. I never left. I love California, and I'm very passionate about what I do.
Absolutely. You're one of the first people I met at Trend Micro, Monica. I'll never forget meeting you when I first started here about 10 years ago. So,
In Utah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Sylvia, how about you?
Hi. Well, I'm now leading CPITS in Mexico. Have been in trend for a long year, and I'm a sister. I'm a daughter. I'm an aunt. I I have a wonderful puppy that is something that I really love, and I spend my time with her.
And Livia.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for inviting me. I am Livia. I am a marketing manager for Canada, but I'm actually Brazilian. So I come from Northeast Brazil, and I am a daughter. I am a proud dog mom.
Oh, I love that. And Livia, it's so interesting to me that you've chosen to move to Canada in the middle of winter. I guess it's almost spring now, but we still have a lot of snow. Um, but tell me a little bit about your journey, Livia. Did you always think that you would be in tech?
No, actually, my first job was at Walt Disney World, and I was doing their international college program. I never thought I would, head into tech, but turns out I found out about Trend, and I found out about the company as it being multinational, and so I just jumped right in and I discovered the world of cybersecurity and technology. So it's been a very, interesting, fun, and challenging ride so far.
I think that's the thing we discover, right? Once you're in tech, it's really hard to leave because it's so
Yes.
dynamic, right?
Yeah.
I think, Tina, you have an interesting journey as well. How did you get started?
Well, I didn't start off in the tech side. I actually started off in the marketing side. I graduated from college, started working at a company called Alcatel, which today is known as Alcatel Lucent. And as I said, I started out in the marketing department, but I was always intrigued about what they did on the 10th floor, which was the engineers. And so I would go down there every day and listen to the conversations and try to learn product. And finally, one of the directors down there, his name was Mark Turner, he said, "Why don't you just come down here and work?" And I was like, "I could change jobs like that. I can do that, straight out of college. You don't know." And so he said, "Yeah." And so I did. I went down there, learned the product, loved being an engineer, loved helping customers. And one of my bosses, after staying there for about 10 years, one of my bosses went over to Cisco Systems and he said, "Hey, why don't you join me over there?" I said, "Sure, why not?" Moved to Cisco Systems. I actually stayed there for about 15 years. I worked in the engineering department, I worked in sales, and then I became a customer success manager, which I loved because it was face to face that I got to be with customers all the time. They wanted me to move to Raleigh, North Carolina at the end of that 15-year stint. And I was like, can't do it. I got girls in high school. They'll never go for it. And so I actually left corporate America, opened up a restaurant, opened up a catering business. And I had been out of corporate America for 2 years. One of my mentors met who was the CEO at the time of the company, met him at a function, and they got to talking about different employees, what they were needing, things like that. And it was brought up that, hey, we really need somebody who's got a footprint in federal space. And so the calls started coming, and I was going, there's no way I'm going back to corporate America. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. Calls kept coming. I said, okay, just let me take the call. I interviewed with Brian Moravitz. I talked to YL, talked to Greg Wan, and I was like, I don't know software. I'll go ahead and try this. And I came, and I remember telling YL specifically, I think I'm only going to do this for 2 years and then I'm out. Well, now I'm 8 years later. I'm here, still here.
It's amazing how fast that time goes.
Yes, went by extremely fast.
Wow. And Sylvia, you're also in a technical position. Tell me what your journey looked like on the way to where you are now.
Oh, okay. Well, I born in technical team. I a proud engineer, and I was really lucky and blessed to have the opportunity here in Trent. My first job actually it was about analyst on systems, more support. Then I got to development, and then I got this interesting and like even like not realistic opportunities. Like, really, does this exist? So I just came to Trend Micro. I was blessed, and I get in like, I don't know, 12 years ago. I began as a technical account manager. It was like training our partners in Latin America. It was a lot of challenge, so much dynamic. The culture, it was fantastic. And then over the tech team, I had like different projects and missions, and it has been wonderful. I also have been leading with, for example, like customer care before we have customer success today, as Tina is leading it. I work a lot with support with Manila, with Dallas, to understand all the hubs, to try to have the best for our customers, understanding our ecosystem with partners in Latin America. And I was also a proud tech leader for Mexico team, which is something that it's not so common in the industry, that a woman is leading the engineer
Yes.
team for a global company. So, and after that, I just moved to sales as a channel account manager last year. And now I'm really, really blessed. And for me, it's like I'm living a dream here in Trend, because it's on Trend Micro. It's living our culture, development people, healthy development people. It's not me. And leading CPITS. So it has been a long way over the tech team. I know I give the step to the sales team, but actually my heart is still on tech team, really.
Technical.
I cannot deny
Well,
it.
it's never a bad thing to have a bit of that technical, heart in there. It will never fail you. That's amazing. What an interesting journey, Monica. How about you? What was your journey like?
A little bit. Well, it's funny, Tina, we never talked about this, but I started, my very first job was a catering manager. And I was really, still going to school, but working full time. And I loved it. I think it actually became my natural. We planned a lot of weddings. There was a lot of, at the time, the catering was a very large part of Silicon Valley, and it was very well known. And I, I just loved it. It was like planning and organizing. And I realized that some of those skills that I had kind of translated over. Now, my journey to tech was, our bookkeeper had a daughter working in distribution. I didn't know what distribution was. I'm like, I don't know what that is. And she's like, no, I think this would be a good opportunity for you. And you've got a lot of skills. And so I met with her. And before I knew it, I was immersed in, at that time it was a chip and system, so it wasn't software, and it was one of the big three, and I loved it. Like, I really surprised myself, because I had never been, like, I can barely work my phone sometimes, but I loved the interaction. At that time in tech, to your point, Leah, we did not have, there was no internet. We had like big, terminals, I think fairly much giving. That's probably why I wear glasses today. But it was dynamic. It was the wild, wild west, right? It was really new and exciting, and everybody was so, pumped up, and it pumped me up. And then it actually taught me that I have a really good memory. It's getting worse as I get older, but I'm very, I hear, like, customer voices, or at that time I had part numbers memorized in my head. We sold a lot of servers, and, IBM, and, Data General, and I had all these things. And so but I was in finance, and I'm in marketing now, but finance, and I did that for 15 years. I loved it, but it was always what is marketing? What is that elusive? That looks like it's fun, right? Like, I did enjoy the fun aspect. And it was funny, because every time I would get involved with marketing, I'm like, okay, these are cool people. I want to learn how to do this. And I just took a leap of faith. I went from disty to advertising, but for advertising, that was all tech. Well, that's all we had was tech clients. And it was really eye-opening and so fascinating, because I got to learn about brand, and why do you need to have that shade of red, and what does that mean? And, why is this design better than another? Because before I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I learned an awful lot. And it was great, because the agency didn't have a tech background. So I kind of filled a gap for them. In fact, I learned how to speak that, because I was working with channel partners all the time. They're like, Monica, explain this audience to me. I don't get it. Like, what are they trying to say? And I'm like, cool, this is where I can add value. And, you guys are great at that. And I can do the client side. So I ended up managing clients and actually loved it. And then I took a leap of faith and said, I'm going to leave agency land. I have a lot of channel counterparts who have a need for somebody to do marketing, but they can't hire them full time. So I jumped into being a consultant, like with all my kids, and my husband's like, "Are you sure about this? Like, what are you doing?" I go, "I don't know, but I always say that if I feel like I'm going to throw up, but I have butterflies, that's probably where I should go." So I jumped in and did consulting, and I loved it. It was great. I met a lot of interesting people. I brought in resources that I had leveraged over the years. And it was a whole new learning to be confident as a business owner. I'd never done it before. And to walk into, meeting clients. I had a couple of clients that I had known, and then they introduced me to some of their, peers and acquaintances, but to sell yourself and to know, like, I'm carrying their design in my hand when they want branding done, when they need a website done. And that was a little scary. Like, I'm not going to lie. It was a lot of times it's like fake it till you make it kind of thing. It's like, this is good. I can do this. And then when I don't know something, I brought in the people who do, right? Bring in and leverage those resources.
I think, Monica, you really touched on something which I think is very important. Listening to all of your stories, none of these have been straight lines. You have taken opportunities when they came and gotten to the point where you are today. You're all incredibly successful at what you've done. What do you think it is about your upbringing or your background? Was there someone that inspired you to take this on? What do you think gave you the kind of the resilience and the courage to pursue these kinds of changes and opportunities?
Did you want me to answer that? Or?
Anyone. Let's go back. Why don't we go back to Tina? I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
I would have to think it's my upbringing. Watching your parents work and tell you could do anything you want to do. I know my dad was my biggest cheerleader, and he would have my head this big telling me how great I was and I could do all these things. But one thing that he taught me was, if there's something you want to try new, don't be so scared that you hold yourself back from doing it. He said, just do it. He said, if you fail, it's okay, just do it. So I did a lot of failing throughout my career, but I always jumped in and tried. So I think that's one of the things that I learned from him was, you only get an opportunity once in a lifetime. If it's something that you think you could be good at, try it. If it doesn't work, it's okay. You can move on to something else. And that's what I've done throughout my entire career.
That's incredible. Anyone else want to comment on that?
Yeah, I think that for me it was my mom. And actually, I came from a family that all the women were really strong. They were really hard worker. And I think that the best way to inspire is with example. And that's what I saw all my life, that they can mix and have a really good, I don't know, terms about working and being the best mom, but not just the best mom. It was just to be the best woman. So she can inspire. Actually, she worked as a teacher, so she always was talking about how to help others. So it was more about, I think, that example and to say try, and like maybe when you have the opportunity, it's not what you have to lose. Is actually we don't lose anything. Maybe we just lose our comfort, and that's it, and maybe a little bit of ego. But after that, it's just learnings and growth and try it. And maybe what I think that it was something that it really helped me is that they also my dad teach me to be different, and that it was okay to be different, and because being different can inspire different things and people, and it was okay to be different, not like to be like the others. Sometimes it was not so good. Sometimes I was like, I want to be like the others, but it was great because actually now that I can see it, it's, I think that the example and to say that you can do whatever you want to, and no one can, if anyone tells you that you can, you just say thank you, but you will try no matter what. if that's what you want, and if that it's something that really feel in your heart or in your stomach, as Monica said. It's like, okay, I'm like, we have a lot of fear, like being here, but it's like, okay, I will do it. I will try it. So I think for me, that was the big example I had.
Well, it's interesting that you've both cited your parents, your dad and then your mom. I
Mhm.
mean, all of us as parents too, as we raise our own kids, it just shows how important that is to provide that
Yes.
sense of being able to do it, right? And Livia, were you going to say something there?
Yeah, I was actually going to second Sylvia just because my mom actually gave me my travel bug. And so my love for traveling and for other cultures came from her. And right from the beginning, because she raised me all by herself, I got that perspective that, if I was going to live abroad and make a home out of a new country, then I should do it on my own, in my own terms. And yeah, that was such a big inspiration for me. And I guess it's having someone and having some place to go back to is also something that empowers me to go further. Just I know that I have someone to go back to if I need to. So
That's
it's been a big support.
Safety net.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. That's Yvonne from LinkedIn is asking a similar kind of question, but what are your biggest inspirations? Are there things that you have to tap into now? Do you go back to your upbringing, or are there things today that inspire you to move forward?
I would love, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have, of course, the women in my family, as Sylvia mentioned as well. There's very strong women in my family. It's just mostly women, and so I usually draw inspiration from them. But recently, I've been learning a lot from this woman. She's called Joe Franco. She's an influencer, and she's a travel influencer, if you would say. But she is a powerhouse, and she's teaching me so much about living in the creative world and being an empowered woman, and just shining, just being there and being your best self. So if you can go, follow her, I would absolutely recommend. She's an inspiration for me.
Nice. Monica,
I
how about you? Or sorry.
I draw a lot of, I would say that the trend women, I hadn't planned on being here 13 years. And I'm like, how did that happen? But I love the people that I have had the opportunity to be around, everybody, Livia and Tina and and now I'm just meeting Sylvia for the first time, but I draw inspiration from them and learning how to collaborate. Teresa Powell, who is our, only female technical director in the
yes.
US, she's my mentor. She's my, talk me down. See, I'm going to cry, Tina.
Don't.
No cry. But she's been really inspirational. Whenever I'm like, oh man, I just like, what am I doing? And she's like, stop, you're good. There's nothing wrong, and leaning on each other and being able to, know that you have a safe spot, just
Right.
to be vulnerable and go, man, I can't figure this out. I don't know what's happening. And that we pick each other up. I mean,
Nice.
trenders are amazing.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. I think the women around me, I get my inspiration from, whether it's inside a trend or the strong females that I have around me outside the company. But one of the things that I love to do is I love to inspire some of the younger females that are coming in. So the different things that we've already experienced in our careers, and they're just starting to experience it. I love giving them advice because that makes me feel like I've contributed something back to them. But it's the best because you see them starting out, and they don't know the direction they want to go in, but they need someone to just guide them. So I love the young trenders that we get to help and get to work with.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Maybe we could take a few moments and reflect on, all these different journeys we've had. What is a time when you just felt there was just this huge challenge, like a hurdle that you just felt like you couldn't get over? And maybe some biases that you ran into as a woman in your journey. That might be a good place to take this. This is the theme this year is all about breaking the bias. Did you run into bias along your journey, a challenge that you had to get over, and how did you do that?
I think it was for me I've been pretty fortunate, but it was getting over the fact that you might have a voice and an opinion in a very male dominated for very long time. And I was somebody who would be like, oh, I thought of that, but I don't want to say it because, who am I? And, they're an executive. And I think I learned at Trend, especially, I can talk to Leah. I can talk to Kevin. I don't have to be afraid. I'm not going to, go crazy, but just be able to say, I'm just, this is my opinion, and maybe it's, not right with, or, help me with this and collaborate. But I feel like that was not so much when I was, younger in my career. It was more like, okay, you're fine. Go over here. Right.
Right. I know when I started at Cisco, something Monica said about it being such a male dominated field. When I was at Alcatel, there were no females in the engineering department. It was me. And then when I went to Cisco, I don't know why I had this mindset that I was going to be surrounded by more females. Wrong. It was so not. It was even more guys. And it used to get to the point where I felt like I was being held back because I was a woman. And, oh, well, Tina, we're going to let somebody else do this, or we'll let somebody else do that. And what I had to do to pull myself out of that, I had to change my mindset of, okay, you're not going to stop me from doing this. If I want to learn this, I'm going to learn it, whether you're going to help me or not. So changing my mindset of how I wanted to grow in my career was huge for me. But when I started, there were so many obstacles that I felt were huge. But when I told them to somebody else, they're like, oh, that's so easy to get out of the way. Oh, that's so easy. So I think as women, sometimes we get in our own way when things happen, and in our minds, we kind of, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? But I had to get out of my own way, basically, is what I had to do, and change my mindset on how I was going to do things to progress in my career.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, Tina. And as you said, sorry to interrupt again,
Okay.
but as you said, when a friend comes over and they have a problem, and we see it sometimes more clearly than them, and then we have the right advice to give to them. But sometimes our own thought process, our own
Yes.
perception of the world and the work that we do, and the way that we think about it, it's what's keeping us from growing. And yeah, I hear you completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to get past that for sure.
Change the story in our head.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, it's one of those things. Okay, if you don't change this, you're going to learn the hard way. So, and trust me, I went the hard path a couple of times, Monica. Imagine that. Not me, but yeah, if you don't change the mindset, your own mindset, it's very difficult to get out of that. Very difficult.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. Rama on LinkedIn, it sounds like you really resonated. She said sometimes the biggest obstacle to growth in our mindset and limited thought process. And does that resonate? It sounds like it does. Sometimes we get stuck in our own head, our own limitations.
We do. We get stuck in our own heads sometimes because someone will say something to us, and then we'll go back and we'll doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
Or we'll say, can I really do this? Can I? You know what, maybe I shouldn't. I'm just going to let this person do it. And we do that all the time. I think I got to a point at the end of my career at Cisco. I was like, you can't tell me I can't do that. I'll prove you wrong. I'll prove you wrong. Give me a date and I'll prove you wrong. So, and that's how I've been, since. So
yeah, and not letting, you're going to get some negative things, or not even people who mean it to be negative. I remember I had a boss who one time had said, don't ever show them that you're weak or that you're vulnerable. I'm like, I like to be authentic. Like if I'm struggling with something, but I held that for a really long time. And it was like there was something wrong with me. And I'm like, no, this is like a superpower for me. Actually being able to share and to, say I'm struggling and I need some help and I don't know all of these things, right? But that was powerful to go, okay, you know what? I'm done with that.
Yeah.
I'm not holding on to that anymore.
But not only that though, when other women see that you're not afraid to say, "Hey, I need help. I don't know how to do this." I mean, I love the fact that I have several females on my team, and I'll say, "I know you guys told me this a couple of times, but I have no idea how to do this. Can you please walk me back through this or help me with this?" So I think it helps other women too when they see, "Oh, wait a minute, she just said she didn't know how to do that, or she doesn't understand." It helps them get more confident in their own skin to do the same thing.
Actually, being able to admit that you don't know something is actually part of the power of leadership, right? You can't know everything.
It's a hard thing, Leah. It's a hard thing.
Well, and hearing you speak, it reminds me of some of my own journey. But I'd be curious to know what you think about what qualities do you think that women bring specifically to leadership that make us strong leaders? What do you think those qualities are?
Empathy, for one, right?
I think empathy, I know for me, um, the ability to actually listen to what um, your employees are saying, like truly listen to what they're saying, but also get to know them a little bit outside of that work circle, just being the employee. I think when we can connect with people on a professional side as well as what I like to call a real life side, and understand that those two are definitely always going to be connected, and you have to have that empathy in you, and be relatable. I know, when you start to see, the young trenders that are coming through here, it amazes me at how much college doesn't teach them sometimes. And so when they come into corporate America, they need someone to be a little empathetic. They need someone to teach them. They need someone to say, "Hey, it's okay if you fail." And I think as a female leader, I think when you combine those things together, it's almost mothering sometimes. And I think that gives comfort to employees sometimes to know, what? I can talk to her because I know she's going to listen. Or I can talk to her because I know she's going to give me advice, and she's not going to take me down the wrong road. Or as my team says, she's going to always give us the honest and brutal truth, whether we like it or not, but it's always for your own good. And I think that's a quality that women have, where we could deliver a message and tell you the hard truth, and you don't walk away with your feelings hurt or feeling like you failed. And I think those are qualities that a lot of women have.
Soft skills.
Yeah, Sylvia, what about you? What do you think about that?
I maybe disagree a little bit on this, just a little bit. I what I really think is that leadership it's about humans. It's not about a gender. I mean, a man can also be empathic, can also be someone who care of you. And I have been really blessed because I have a lot of leaders through my life that can show me that maybe that's why I got that disagree, because what I have been thought, not just by my parents or my culture. By my culture, actually, it's really machista. But actually, we're Mexican, so it's macho mexicano. So it's weird. But actually, what I've been thought, what I have lived in these years, and actually in trend, it's awesome because the leadership it's about taking care of the others, and I think that's about humans. It's not about a gender. Um, just trying to have a story for you. I want to share. Just once in my life as a leader in tech, out of a trend micro actually. Um, just one, I have just like reality in my face to say, really, is this happening to me? And actually, I can't believe it, because someone who I was leading, and I was just changing my new reporting, and it was in a new enterprise. It was wonderful. I was like an infrastructure manager. Then on the second day, they present my team, and one of them told me, "Okay, I will be clear with you. Okay, it's like you are 10 years younger than me, and you are a woman, so I won't report to you." That's the only um, time that I really saw that say, okay, there is this mental model that it really exists. But it wasn't that girl. It was so clear. for me and so transparent. And actually, what I just remember that I just stay like 2 minutes, like, what should I do? It's he was in front of me face to face, like he's supposed to report to me. He don't believe his reasons, they are valid. So it was like, for me, it was like I have the opportunity to be the change. I have the opportunity to
Yeah.
make him realize that the world could be different. It's not
Right.
his fault. Someone or some environment taught him that that was the way it should be, the corporate
Right.
enterprise or leadership, whatever. And for me, it was great. This is an opportunity. After several months, actually, he left the company, but at the end, he told me, you showed me something different. You show me that, yes, you are 10 years younger, you are a woman, but you are the best leader I have ever had. I was really blessed after that. It was like, because I don't start fighting and say, he's a bad guy. It was like, okay, this is his reality. My reality is different. So how can we
Right.
create a new reality? So for me, it's that what why we are here. It's to inspire, to be the change. And being the change for me, it's to recognize humans, just humans, living people, with a lot of skills and capacities, and be able to recognize the best of the other. As we try to be the best of ourselves, as we always say in Trend Micro, but it's also to recognize the best of the other, from the one that I have. If it's older, younger, if whatever, it's how we can inspire, but how can we also get inspired from others without mothering anything. They're just humans. So that's what I think.
Taking
Livia,
care.
did you want to add something to that?
Me?
Or Livia, sorry.
Oh, Olivia.
No, actually, I just kept listening to Sylvia, and I just understand we had an opportunity to work together last year, and this woman, let me tell you, yeah, I mean, I in terms of qualities and what we bring to leadership, my view is, yes, there's more opportunity to show more vulnerability and to deal with things in a maybe more gracious way. But part of me also agrees with Sylvia that says, there are plenty of men out there who are great at what they do, and they're empathic, and they have great, leadership skills as well.
And many of them work here. There are some really amazing,
Yep.
That is true.
very
That's true.
supportive of us.
And
Great
actually, I
perspectives.
will have to thank them because, for example, I'm in the tech team, so I leave like a little things there. But I have to really thank them because, for example, we went to customers, and when I start talking about something, solution, whatever, a problem or whatever, some guys here, it's like, oh yeah, but they just take the conversation to the guy in the table. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're the sales guy, the sales girl, or you don't know. And it was, no, she's the one that knows. And those guys actually help to make the reality change. Those
Yeah.
leaders that we have, those trenders that we're really blessed to work with them, because they say, hey, this is her place, this
Yes.
is her voice, and they give us the not the opportunity, but help us to change the mind of that other guys that are outside trend
Right.
actually.
It
And
makes them think about it too, right? Like when
yeah,
that happens, they're like, what did that really just
yeah,
happen?
exactly.
I agree with you, because I think one of the things that I interview a lot of sales candidates, and I was in the same room with one of the regional vice presidents who, also a great mentor of mine, Rasmus Peterson, and the candidate was only looking at Rasmus. I'm asking the questions and he's only answering Rasmus. And finally, Rasmus said, you should answer her because she's going to make a decision about whether or not you get hired. And he walked out of the room. And I went, thank you.
That is wonderful. It's like going to buy a car. I'm sure you've all experienced
Yes.
that, right? It's
Yes.
Exactly.
there's a certain assumption that we that women may not know what to ask or what's under the hood, right? That's the interesting, definitely in a technical position, I can see why that's especially challenging from a bias perspective. Do you think that, like, I know we experience some bias being women in terms of perhaps judging our technical ability, and you've addressed that very well. Do you think that there's cultural layers to this as well? We've got everyone here represented from Canada down through South America. Did you think it varies in from a cultural perspective?
Yeah, I think.
Yes.
I don't know if our cultures are so different sometimes, but when I was just actually, it was my beginning in training. It was more of my biggest challenges, to travel alone, with a lot of fear, trying to train partners that have like 10 years of experience, and I have like 2 months in train, and I just read the manual, But I remember once I get into with a partner, and they were like 5, 6 engineers, and I just came, and they say, "Oh, great, it's trained here, but why did they bring the sales girl? Because we have the technical week this week." And it's like, I was a bad person, I am. But what I saw is I just take out my manual and I say like, it's the same for women and men, don't worry. I just started, And then I start joking with them, and at the end it was really cool. But that's something that I've learned. It's that at first, actually at the beginning, I get really upset when they tell me that I was the sales guy, And it was like, I'm an engineer, I'm technical. Now it's like, yeah, I'm the sales guy, I'm whatever you want, but I will decide, I will give the solution. So I don't care right now. But I think that in some countries I felt it different, not in the same, but I also found a lot of people in all the countries that are really trying to make the change, or that they are open to say, hey, I learned something new. So that's for me something that I'm really grateful about, that because I had the opportunity to live it, to make a little change maybe, and because they also change in me, because for me it's like, it's not happening this in the world, come on, And when I was there, like, okay, it's happening, I'm here, I need to solve it. But I think that as humanity, sometimes we are talking right now about gender, but I think it's because we as humans, sometimes we spend a lot of time trying to have more details about the difference of whatever we have, of the color we like, of the sport we like, of whatever we want, instead of looking for what we have in common, or what kind of vision can we have. So I think that humanity cultural, if I can do that, it's that we look for the difference instead of looking for what makes us better together. That's my opinion.
Excellent.
Absolutely. It's a great thing that you took the attitude that you had, though, because I've seen so many female engineers quit being engineers just because of just statements like that. They're like, I'm not going to spend my career doing this. I'm not going to spend my career doing this. I'll do something else. So I think it's admirable of you that you took that route and you didn't let anybody stop you. So love that about you, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Here's a statement, pivoting a little bit to talk about work-life balance. This is actually a phrase that I don't really love, because I find work and life are the same thing.
Yeah.
But people often ask this question. I find, especially as people are starting out in their careers, would you like to give some advice to people who are earlier in their careers about what it means to you to balance your work life?
I'm not fond of it either. I think because it's so intermeshed, right? Like I was listening to the webinar earlier this morning and talking about when they said, well, who's taking care of your children, and how, and it's really I have 4 kids, and it's about the quality of the time we spend together. They know that, I've always had a job. The entire time I've had kids, I've always had a full-time job. And I think it's for me to be able to say, I know when I need to put down the laptop and walk away, and I need to go for a run. And it's allowing yourself to know yourself, because I think early in my career, I would just push and push and push and push and push until I'm like, that last email was done and that last thing was done. Well, now there's never a last email, right? Has anybody ever had a
Right.
last email?
No.
It
No.
doesn't
No.
happen, right? So it's okay, go make time for yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, nobody else is going to.
Right.
And that is the balance that you need to ask yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think, people coming into young careers, I think they should learn early that, create some type of boundaries, to where you have that me time. I know there's so many young trenders, and they just want to get their careers going, going, going. So they think working every day at 100 miles an hour, it's going to get them there faster. And it doesn't. It's like Monica said, you have to find some time for yourself just to breathe. Just to breathe. I mean, Monica, I'm one of those people. Wait, I got to send one more email. Wait, let me do one more text message. I am that person. But I've gotten to the point on weekends now, I'll just put that phone away, or I'll just close the laptop so I don't see anything. So there's boundaries that I think anyone that's starting their career needs to set for themselves and stick to them. It's okay if you don't respond to that email. It's okay if you miss that phone call. You're still going to be employed on Monday. You'll be okay. Just, take that time for yourself.
Yeah. It is interesting. I know, I've logged, like many of you, over 1 million miles on a particular airline, and I have now status for life, which is wonderful. And it is interesting. People think, oh, well, you really sacrificed a lot with your family. And I think, to your point, Monica, you can still really dive in and have that quality time. And it is helpful. I feel badly for single parents. I think it's very tough to try to juggle things. But when you have a partner who's there to help, balance things, then it really can be, you can all do well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we're getting towards the end of our live stream today. Final comments from you. One thing that you wish you'd known, what you know now, if you wish you'd known at 23.
We could be here another hour.
Wow. Okay. I guess what I wish I known at 23 is that I was going to fulfill my childhood dream, and just be patient. You'll get there.
Excellent. Sylvia, how about you? Or whoever's got one in mind, because it's not an easy question, I know.
Yeah, I would say that that I will be living a dream, and that I will know so much about me that I don't even have idea at that age, and that it's wonderful that everything in me and around it's like living a dream. And just as Livia said, it's just about be patient and continue like working and learning a lot, and don't stop surprising about the others, but also about me. Just like let it me surprise me.
Yeah.
And I think that I would say, don't try to be perfect. Just remember to be you,
Yes.
and everything will be fine.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
Don't sweat the small stuff. We can make big, when you're 23, you're making big mountains. Like if you had a bad day and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this just ruined everything. And we're going to have challenges, right? Things are going to blow up. You are going to have awful, terrible days. And then you know what? The next day it gets better. And it's what you do with it. I think I would let it break me instead of going, okay, we're moving on. And to move on and say, this is not going to break me. And I think the more I did that, the more I realized you're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's not like, even though I've had some pretty difficult challenges, even with my kids in terms of their health. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know how we're ever going to survive this. And we did. We
Yes.
absolutely did. And
We are resilient, right?
Yes, very. I think for me at 23, I wish I had known that it was okay to fail, because I had that mindset, oh my gosh, if I mess this project up, everything was always, I'm going to lose my job today. I'm going to lose my job today. Oh my gosh. But I wish I had known at 23 that it is okay to fail and to actually learn from it, and then carry those learnings into whatever I was doing next. That was the biggest thing. I carried it like a lead weight. Oh my gosh, I failed at that. How am I going to fix this? Oh, how am I going to come out of this? So it carries a lot of weight on you, unnecessary weight at 23. So I really wish I would have learned that at an early age.
or any age.
Or any age.
Yeah.
Incredible. Well, before we go, we should all celebrate. This year's theme is Break the Bias. So let's all see our symbol for Break the Bias. And I want to thank you all so much for joining today. And I will just get on to wrapping up here today. Thank you all so much. Well, it's been a wonderful time talking with these incredible women at Trend Micro. Happy International Women's Day to everyone. As we've learned, it's not a straight journey. We are resilient. Things will be okay. We got to dig deep and just know that sometimes it's our own self-doubt that might hold us back. But you saw from these women today that the journey can be incredible. You can achieve great things. Thanks again for joining us.